Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
What's going on, 7-Footers gang? It is Jenna and Jarod back here for our official new season preview episode. We are breaking things down into the Eastern Conference and Western Conference. They will be 2 different episodes ahead of the start of the season on December 22nd. Jarod, before we jump into it, how are you doing?
You know, can't complain out here. We're excited, right? Like the NBA's coming back. Preseason started Friday night. We got some games yesterday. We got games tonight. Kevin Durant plays his first game tonight. You know, we shall see. That there was again, the offseason was so fast. There was so much transactions going on. It was a blur, but excited to have everything back. Of course, trepidation, you know, with COVID still going on. And, you know, there are obviously already teams that have players that tested positive and are having issues. But, you know, full steam ahead as we look at these previews and see which teams are, you know, going to do their thing and which teams are, sadly, going to keep doing their thing, which is not very good.
That's good. Do you write these things ahead of time?
No. They just
you get into the joke game.
They just kind of come to me as we go. But how are you, Jenna? What's going on in those streets?
Oh, thanks, Jarod. You know, over here in these New Jersey streets, they're good. They're good. Everything, you know, as the world probably knows, you know, it's mid-December and COVID has kind of been rearing its ugly head again. So we're going through this. Like, we're taking a step back, you know, like a lot of the indoor dining is closing in New York. So it's scary, but doing well. Glad to be healthy. Just trying to make it to the holidays, see some of the family, COVID safe as well. You know,
of course. And, you know, just hunker down and watch some basketball. And of course, folks, don't you forget our annual tradition of breaking down the Christmas Day games will come as well. I think after last year, are you winning? We might either tied or like, one person's only ahead by 1 or something. It's very close. So we'll see how we do this year.
It's a tight race. So this should be another exciting battle that we go. And if you guys are new listeners, Jarod and I basically go head to head every year for the Christmas Day games with our predictions. And I think that I'm just going to say that I'm winning because I'm the first, you know.
Probably untrue, but anyway.
Most likely. We got to jump into things here because, as you said, full steam ahead. And I believe that's also what Adam Silver said recently when asked about, you know, how we're going to continue to play basketball and sports within these COVID times, within this wave that is continuing to surge. So it is full steam ahead, guys. We have basketball, preseason basketball in December. It's out of control. So let's talk about, and if you're a listener of this podcast, you know that this is my conference, the Eastern Conference, although LeBron James is now in the West. I was
going to say, so you're still an Eastern Conference girl? You're not going to, navigate and make yourself a Western Conference girl now?
You know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If I mosey on over to the West, people are going to be like, oh, look at you, hopping teams like Drake, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. Like, it ain't like that.
But have I told you about this? No, actually, I told Gabby about this. Look, here's my thing about sports. And I get it, right? There's this whole, like, you want to feel like you're a ride or die. And, you know, you ride with this team since you were little. And you want to be loyal and all this sort of thing. Look, that's all well and good. But sports watching for fans is supposed to be fun. Is it not? It's supposed to be enjoyable. This is what you do in your recreation and free time. So why do you want to sign yourself up for misery and root for teams that are atrocious? Like, what? You don't owe them any loyalty. What loyalty do they give you? Right? They don't give you loyalty. So you, with your time and your dollars, hey, I'm going to go navigate to whatever team I feel like going to. I mean, not me because we're in media, but like you fans out there, a little word of advice, you know? Find you a team that loves you as much as you love them. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, snap. Okay. I hear what you're saying. I mean, in my defense, if we really want to take it back to the grassroots here, I was a New Jersey Nets fan. So they don't exist, so I'm allowed to do whatever the hell I want.
Exactly. You can go root for whatever team you want.
That is exactly right, my friend. Now let's talk about this Eastern Conference and break it down a little bit. Now Jarod came up with the lovely idea of breaking each team down into teams that are lottery bound, teams that are fighting for the playoffs, teams that are locks for the playoffs, and teams that are major contenders to make the finals in their conference. So we got to start with teams that we believe, or know, I should say, are lottery bound. Let's kick it off on a rather dull note and talk about the Chicago Bulls, because I don't really know what's going on in Chi-Town, but they got Zach LaVine. I mean,
I love it. They got Zach LaVine.
Otto Porter Jr. I'm trying here.
Look,
he hasn't played since 2018. So
look, here's the thing about the Chicago Bulls. So they have a whole new coaching staff and front office, right? So Arturas Karnisovas, and I'm screwing up his name. He is now the GM, right? They got rid of Gar Forman and John Paxson, right? So those guys are out of here, right? The Gar Pax era over. Thank God, because they were terrible, right? So Karnisovas is now president of basketball operations, and you have, of course, Billy Donovan and his staff as the coaching staff. So turning over a new leaf. Look, we ain't gonna spend a lot of time on these teams that are like crappy, because whatever. You did mention Zach LaVine. Yes, they in fact have Zach LaVine, and the question you have to ask, or you're asking yourself, is Zach LaVine, does he have the potential to be like an actual star that like helps your team win, or is he just a good stats, bad team kind of guy? And right now, it's looking like he's a good stats, bad team kind of dude, right? Like nothing he's doing is leading to winning basketball in Chicago. They do have Lowry Markkinen, who I like a lot. They Otto Porter Jr., who you mentioned, Wendell Carter, who they picked up in the draft last year. So they have Kobe White, of course, as well. They have pieces in their first-round draft pick this year, Patrick Williams from Florida State. Look, they're young, and the idea with Chicago is you hope now, with their new president of basketball operations and this new coaching staff, that they have a new direction about where they want to go. And the goal now is to build their young talent and develop them. Keyword being develop, right? And then we see if this team can emerge itself from the doldrums of the Eastern Conference. But as it stands for this year, they're a lottery team.
Right. Quick yes or no question, and feel free to explain if you'd like. But do you think Billy Donovan's going to be a fit?
I do, because he's going to instill a different kind of culture there, right? So, we joke so much about their last coach and his whole tough guy routine and like wanting to fight players and all that stupidness and punching the time clock and all that. It's like, all right, my guy, like, I don't know what you think this is. Billy is going to command a certain level of respect, and he's going to have accountability, but he's not going to do it in that fake tough guy kind of way, right? Like it's going to be about getting buy-in from guys like Zach LaVine and, the leaders of this team. And they just picked up Garrett Temple from the Nets, a veteran presence. So having veterans like that in the locker room who are poised and understand, all right, man, like, this is how you young kids need to be professionals. Here's how we come to work and do what we got to do. So having that is going to help Billy, and I think Billy will be a good fit there. Look, this is about time in Chicago, right? This team ain't going to be good anytime soon. So let's start building the habits now, foundations, right? You get another good pick next year. You start developing your guys. Then in year 2, we start saying, ooh, are we potentially making a move toward that 10 spot for a playing game?
Heck yeah. And Temple, he came over from the Nets, but he was also part of that kind of rebuild-ish culture, so maybe he'll get a little taste of that in Chicago.
Garrett is
back from the bottom.
No, yeah, Garrett's a vet, one of the guys I love talking to in the league. He's just a professional, right? Like, he understands, like, again, like I say this all the time, for the fans, this is like entertainment, but these are these people's jobs and their careers and their livelihoods. And Garrett Temple knows how to be a professional, and he will teach those younger guys on Chicago, hey guys, this is how you build out a career in this league, and you last, and you contribute to winning basketball. So I'm looking forward to seeing what develops there in Chicago.
All right, I love it. We got to move on here because, well, I mean, if you want to call it a dumpster fire in Cleveland, that's exactly what it is, because they don't have anyone left but Kevin Love. And Tristan Thompson is in Boston, so he's going to a contending team. We'll get to them later. But the Cleveland Cavaliers, my question really, I guess, is what is the game plan in Cleveland? Is Kevin Love going to be a Chris Paul and just kind of bring all of his little brothers in and just talk to them and mentor them and kind of facilitate this rebuild? What's Kevin Love's future? What is it?
Listen, maybe he's on the trade block. I don't know. Look, it's the same thing for Cleveland, right? This is rebuilding time. Colin Sexton, they have Isaac Okoro, who they picked up this year. They have Andre Drummond, who's an interesting piece. Dante Exum, maybe they can figure out what's going on with him and how to develop him. Darius Garland, and Chetty Osman. This is another. Look, they're devoid of really high-end, top-tier talent. Sans Kevin Love, right? And again, does Kevin want to be there, right? We talked about what happened last year when he got into that discussion with Kobe Altman, right? And yelling and being like, oh, this is terrible and whatever. I don't know what is happening with this squad and with this franchise. Listen, it's interesting how you go from the top to the bottom real quick. LeBron James leaves and it's like, woo, we are hot garbage, right? And that's just, when you are an organization that does not have a clear vision and mission, and you don't have arguably the best basketball player of all time, well, all the warts get exposed now, right? And you're seeing them. Cleveland, of course, is not a free agency destination. People aren't clamoring to go there for what? For who? Why?
No.
You know what I'm saying? And so, again, it's going to be about development. And the thing is, most NBA franchises are shitty at this. They just draft these kids and they think, all right, they're going to get good. And it's no. You have to help them develop till they get good.
Literally.
Right?
This is the most crucial time and part of it. And there's just no action taken. And if there is, it's just the wrong direction. I don't know. If it doesn't work, then it's not a good fit.
It is, when I see this roster of this team, I'm like, oh God, it's just, ugh. I just, again, Dan Gilbert, what is your plan? Right? How do you plan to move this forward? Right? They've got JB Bickerstaff as their coach. Clearly, the John Beeline, did not work out well last year. They have interesting young guys. Again, can your franchise figure out how we're going to develop our talent? Because again, you are not a free agency destination. So you're not getting big-time superstars to sign here. The only thing you can do is trade, right? And when you trade, they're not going to want to stick around long for obvious reasons. So can you change the culture? We'll see.
Exactly. I have nothing else to add to that, please. Let's just roll right through this. Let's talk about what's going down in Detroit, okay? Because a lot of people forget about our guy, Mr. Blake Griffin. Because of so many past injuries and things like that. What pieces does he have at this point? You have Grant, I get it. Derrick Rose, obviously, but what direction is Detroit going in here?
What I'll say about Detroit is I at least like the fact that they have Dwayne Casey, right? Dwayne Casey's a good coach, and he's going to get this team to at least buy in on the defensive end, and they're going to compete. Again, when you look at the NBA, this league is you win with talent, right? That's just how it goes. They're interesting, right? They have some talent on this squad. We got to see what Blake looks like. How healthy is he, and how much does he have left in the tank? Jeremy Grant did just sign a free agency deal there. They have Josh Jackson, who they got from Memphis. Killian Hayes, who they just drafted. They have Jahlil Okafor, Musa, who they got from the Nets in that Bruce Brown trade. And Mason Plumlee also signed there. And you, of course, mentioned Derrick Rose. I think for them, their big thing is, okay, can we move and make this roster flexible enough so that we have young talent and we continue to draft well? And again, it was not like a broken record. Develop who we draft, and you hit one of these and you get lucky. Because again, Detroit, not a free agency destination, right? Like in its current iteration, you're not having free agents line up to go, yeah, sign me up. I want to go to Detroit. Yeah, I know Jeremy Grant went there, but listen, he went there because they paid him a lot of money. And because where else is he getting, right? He's not of that ilk, right? I'm talking about the premier top tier free agent kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
Your Giannis Antetokounmpos, right? People like of that ilk. He ain't that. But at least in comparison to the two teams I just mentioned, I at least like Chicago. I like Casey as a coaching staff as much as I like Billy Donovan, and I think that Detroit has some kind of direction in terms of where they want to go. GM Troy Weaver, I think, has a plan. So we shall see. Again, the big thing is he going to get time, right? That's the thing about a lot of these GMs and their plans. If your ownership gives you the opportunity to let your plan run through fruition, okay, you have a shot, right? But if your owner starts getting itchy trigger fingers a year and a half in or 2 years, and you get fired, well, it is what it is, right? And that's why so many of these teams are perennially stuck in this lottery bound situation, is because they never find a plan, let it ride and stick with it and go through the ups and, because you're going to have downs, right? And manage and deal with the downs, but it's a lot for some owners and they can't handle it.
Exactly. And there is work to be done there, but again, there is a really, really good power in having Casey there. So again, we'll see. And there's a huge question mark too around Blake Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what level he's at yet anymore. Mm-hmm. So
we shall see.
We'll see what he can do. All right, let's talk about my New York Knicks, okay? Because while all y'all have your opinions, I'm here to tell you guys it's going to be okay.
Wow.
Some would argue that they have not won free agency, but they have done well for themselves. I mean, we have this signing and bringing back Obi Toppin back to the East Coast, back to New York, and it's Tom Thibodeau's team now, and he's making some good calls. And you have the young development of RJ Barrett, obviously in the new Kith ad for their new jerseys or sponsored uniforms, which dang, Kith and New York, okay, we're coming back. We're back.
They're doing something. Look, again, new coach and front office regime in New York at Madison Square Garden. Leon Rose, right, from formerly of CAA, William Wesley, right, they are now in charge of basketball operations. And, you know, in terms of GM and getting players and all that sort of thing. Is James Dolan going to give Leon Rose, William Wesley, and Tom Thibodeau the runway to do their job? Have they presented him with a plan that says, I know you want this team to be good, etc. I know you want us to get flashy free agents. I have a plan. It's going to take us X amount of years. And here are the steps we're going to achieve along. Here are the markers we're going to achieve along the way. Allow me the time to let this plan come through to fruition. Will James Dolan sit back and let it happen? Or is he going to do what he always does and meddles and gets involved? Now, in terms of the Knicks as a roster, their big thing right now is they need to figure out, again, it's like a broken record, player development. RJ Barrett, Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin, Frank Ntilikina. You need to figure out what you have with those five, and can you get the most out of them from a basketball perspective. Kevin Knox is way too talented to be showing what he's been showing the last year plus, 2 years. And he's been showing nada, crap, poop.
No.
Like nothing good. So either he's a problem or you're the problem. Most likely it's a combination of both. But maybe, again, this new regime, can we figure this out? Obi Toppin, a lot of excitement around Obi Toppin. Okay, cool. Are we going to allow him to develop? RJ Barrett, again, can you develop? Look, these players were all drafted in the lottery and relatively high in the lottery. you guys need to, like, if you're consistently drafting high in the lottery, when I say high in the lottery, I mean like picks 1 through 10. How is it you don't have competent NBA starters like when you're picking that high? Like, either you're really horrendous at identifying talent and or developing it, or these players are really bad, or right, like, figure this stuff out, man. You're a perennial losing franchise. You're in the lottery every single year. How is it you have not found? Well, you did actually find a great player, Kristaps Porzingis, not here anymore, in Dallas. Like, develop your talent, man. Like, KP's an all-star, right? I mean, I just, again, if Dolan allows Thibodeau and Rose and Wesley to do their job, they got a shot. Because here's what I will say positive that they have done. They're not saddled with any bad contracts, right? So they have plenty of cap space and they can do all the maneuvering when it comes to signing free agents. However, you are still the New York Knicks. Your rep among stars around the league ain't good, okay? So this whole idea we're just going to wait and we're going to sign this big name free agent, give up on that pipe dream. Start figuring out and developing your talent internally. Start changing the culture of your franchise. Make yourself attractive enough that free agents will say, you know what? They might be changing over there in New York in Madison Square Garden. And I think Thibodeau, from a coach perspective, if he doesn't grind these guys out and wear them out, because, you know, Tibbs loves to wear his players out, if he can do that and have them playing and competing hard, not wearing them out, if Leon Rose and William Wesley can change the culture there, you got a shot. But again, it all starts internally with what you got and changing what is currently there.
I agree, and I think this is the start of that change, though. I'm telling you, I can
You're
feel
hoping.
This entire new front office and coaching staff. I feel it. These young guys, we're making the turnaround. This is it. Mark my words. Okay, this is it.
You heard it. You heard it here, folks. You heard it. Jenna's called it.
Whatever. All right. We got to move on throughout the East because we got a lot more teams to talk about. And now this is an interesting batch of teams that we're going to cover next because these are teams that are in that type of gray area of fighting for the playoffs because they're probably going to be fighting for that 9 and 10 seed. So let's chat about the Atlanta Hawks because this is a rebuild that's been taking place for a minute now. And we have Trae Young. Oh wait, I'm sorry. He just got his own signature shoe.
He did with Adidas. Yeah.
That's right. Trae Young. Remember him?
Listen. The beautiful thing about this whole process is I am fine to admit when I was wrong. I will clearly state when he was coming out of the draft, I said, I don't know, Trae Young's got high bust potential to me. I didn't say he would be a bust. I just said he had high bust potential. And my big thing with Trae that I couldn't see translate into this league was he's a much better playmaker and passer than the college tape would have me believe. Yeah, I know he led in assists, but he has a knack and a court vision that is better than I thought it was. The shooting, right? He can obviously score. We know that. He's a highlight reel. The concerns I still have are there. He's still a liability on defense. Like, he is a negative on defense and gets exploited consistently. However, he is clearly an elite offensive player, right? So, Trae Young, kudos.
Well, what if I told you that the Atlanta Hawks may just be a league pass team? Why, you ask, Jarod? Why? Because let's talk about their offseason that they had. I mean, how many players did we accumulate down in Atlanta? Okay, Rondo. Yeah, that's NBA champion Rondo.
Oh,
okay,
Lord.
Chris Dunn, Gallinari, Bogdanovich. And we're not even covering the win that they got within the draft too. Okongwu.
Yep. Onyeka Okongwu from USC. Look, this roster I like a lot. Let's not forget the guys they already have on the roster. John Collins, Clint Capella, Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of competition for playing time. This is now the time for Atlanta. And head coach Lloyd Pierce, who I like a lot, and their GM that came over and Travis Schlenk, their GM. It's put up or shut up time now. This is now year 3 for Trae Young, right? It's time now, right? Like, he is the focal point with veteran people presence, like you mentioned, in Rondo, in Gallinari, in a good player like Bogdanovich, with John, all these guys. They have got to start competing now for that 10, 9, hell, even 8 spot. Atlanta has to be better now because the talent is there. And if this squad, again, barring injury and COVID, because, you know, there could be a COVID outbreak on the team or dudes can get hurt and then whatever. We don't know. But assuming that they are healthy and the talent performs and they perform to their level, this team should be in the playoffs. They should be at a minimum, they should be fighting for that 10-9 play-in tournament spot. If they are not, it's going to be a hugely disappointing year for Atlanta. And head coach Lloyd Pierce, if he doesn't get fired, will be on an extremely hot seat.
Okay. Like you said, it is shut up and put up
or
time.
shut up time, yes.
Put up or shut, yeah. You know, that's not what my people say. So I don't know. I was trying to sound cool. But basically, as my people would say, it's go time. So this means Trae Young, year 3, he should easily be dropping 30-some points a night.
Damn, 30 a night? Jeez, you're asking for a lot.
Okay. Well, the kid's, he's a youngin'. He ain't like us, Jarod. Okay? All right? He got a signature shoe now. Yes, Shaq would agree with me that he needs to be at least putting up 30. I'll ask him.
Well, Shaq, yeah. But, just, you know, Shaq likes to say wild stuff, but yes.
Well, it is what it is. But I mean, when you DJ for a living and you're shaking your head down in Miami, that's the kind of thoughts you have at that point. It's all extreme. But anyway, back to the Hawks, because they have all these pieces and they have all these young guys, you know, and the veteran presence in Rondo. Mm-hmm. That's a huge deal because we always talk about it here about what Rondo, how he can impact a team by just using his brain and his voice, literally. He can go on off the bench, drop a nice chunk of change out there, and then help put you ahead. But it's going to be that presence that really helps these young guys. So with that being said, real quick, who on that roster do you think is going to have really a breakout season in Atlanta?
I think Cam Reddish is someone I'm looking at to have a nice breakout season. That shooting is going to be a key. You know, I love Kevin Huerter. Look, in this new NBA, you need guys who can space the floor, right? So imagine, and we know Trae can shoot. Imagine Trae on the floor, right? Obviously, the point guard's got the ball in his hands. He's surrounded by nothing but shooting and tall, rangy shooting. That's incredible, right? Because that's just space for him to do his thing. And then when the defense collapses, he kicks it out to guys who are shooting 37% plus from 3. That'll be again, this team should be very good. At a minimum, offensively, they should be excellent. Their defense doesn't have to come along, but they should be able to score a lot of points. We shall see. Time will tell.
Will you be watching them on League Pass, Jarod?
You know, the Atlanta Hawks are definitely a League Pass team. They're in there because, again, it's time now. I think we're ready to see them make that move, and I'll be very curious to see what this team looks like.
Love it. Same. Can't wait to see about that development, too, down in Atlanta.
Yeah, so I think, really quick, just I think, so prediction-wise, I'm going to say that they get into...
Oh, yeah.
They get into the play-in tournament. Like, they make it.
Okay. I'm not mad at it.
They make it.
I'm going to agree. It could be a different story for the next team, though. The Charlotte Hornets, okay? Because, you know, we got Gordon Hayward down there soaking up that massive $39 million contract. But you also have the new face in LaMelo Ball and the spotlight that comes with that as well.
And his $14,000 grill that he's got now.
That is also very true. I mean, it's fashion, Jarod. That's what the kids are doing these days. Let them go now, damn it. Anyway, let's talk about how LaMelo Ball already made a splash on social media in the preseason when he threw a quick and swift behind-the-back pass in transition, not even looking. I looked inside of his eyes, Jarod. He wasn't even looking at that guy. That was reminding me of a little LeBron James no-look pass. Now, I am not comparing because this guy's been in the NBA for about 3 minutes and some change. But still, that was a nice pass. He's showing out already. What do you think? Is this just back to school jitters?
If you guys, those of you who are not watching, I am rolling my eyes as she talks about LaMelo Ball. Look, he's
already hating.
It's not even hate. Like, look, okay, so he made great. He made a viral clip for a fancy no look. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. His passing attributes, that is a strength, and his playmaking is a highlight of his game, no doubt. And we're gonna see a lot more of that. The question, though, however, the Charlotte Hornets, what kind of an organization are you? And are you going to be able to get the most out of LaMelo Ball and develop him to his fullest potential? That's the questions that I have. And, Michael Jordan may be the greatest basketball player of all time. As far as an owner, he certainly ain't winning no awards for that. Right? And again, what is Charlotte's? I know what they're thinking, right? They signed Gordon Hayward to this massive contract because their thing is we have to make the playoffs, right? And be in that 9-10 play-in seed because that matters. And it's okay, great. So you're going to be a 10 seed, and then you don't get into the high lottery to get actually good talent, and you're stuck somewhere in the middle and you get crap. But hey, it is what it is. Devontae Graham, nice breakout star last year. Let's hope he continues on that upward trajectory. Don't be surprised if Terry Rozier is someone who is involved in trade talks. I could potentially see him move. They got some young talent, right? PJ Washington's young. They have, I mentioned Devontae Graham. They have Miles Bridges. Of course, LaMelo Ball. It's going to be about development, man. Can James Borrego, his staff, and can they develop these guys? Change the culture out there in Charlotte? I watched a little bit of their preseason game last night, and when I saw certain guys on the floor, I liked how they competed and how they were looking. Is it possible they finish in the 10, somewhere in the 10? Sure. I mean, if everyone's healthy, they should be battling for that 10-9, somewhere in that range. But again, what is that ultimately going to do for this franchise? Because I know for Michael Jordan as an owner, he wants to win championships. That's his goal. Does that culture look like a championship culture? Not from where I sit, but we'll see.
Right. You made a good point before too. Even the way you said it, what can the Hornets? How much can they get out of LaMelo Ball? And that relationship is going to be very intriguing to me. To see how they choose to develop him and move along with his career. I mean, hey, if there's anything that the Hornets will do for him, it's humble him down.
Well, and here's the other thing too. How much does LaMelo Ball want to be great and good? Look, he's 19, so I'm going to expect him to make a lot of 19-year-old mistakes, not just basketball-wise, just his outlook on life, right? Think about back to when we were 19, whatever, you're young and you're dumb, but you think you know everything, right? You don't know shit, right? Now add on top of it, but I'm the number whatever draft pick, and I think, okay, now you think you're even better than you possibly are, right? So how quickly does he realize, okay, I want to be great versus I love all the things that being a top NBA pick gets me, right? In terms of the money, the access, the ladies, all that stuff. Is that more important, or is the basketball more important, right? And I think we'll see.
You forgot to mention the girls.
I said
lineup.
I said lady. Oh, the grills in his lineup?
The grills.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I'm like, are we still doing that? Are people still doing that shit? Apparently. I mean, whatever.
Hey.
To each his own.
19 and thriving with the girls. All right.
19,
Lisa Jumper was looking wet.
19 and a millionaire, right? I mean, look, I've said this in the past before, right? And this is not about knocking LaMelo Ball. If you gave me the number 3 pick, whatever he was, and millions of dollars when I was 19, I'd be acting a fool too. All right. So I don't let's not I don't want to be out here acting well, I would never. So I get it.
Right. And we also have to remember, too, quick note about LaMelo Ball. I mean, this kid's already lived a life. I mean, he has been overseas playing. He has traveled. I mean, he has some experience under him that is unique that a lot of others coming into the league don't have. So almost like a Luka Doncic kind of mentality, experience vibe.
Here's what I'll
I
say.
said
Kinda. Kinda in the sense that they both play basketball overseas. That's it. That's where the comparisons end. Luka, a far, far better player, and it's not close.
Oh.
Much more mature, polished. Like his whole Luka, also young, but what I see from Luka, again, that I don't see from LaMelo, Luka is someone who wants to be great and wants to win basketball games.
He wants to learn.
Right? And by the way, you saw that from Luka as a teenager dominating the EuroLeague, the second best league in the world after the NBA. LaMelo wasn't doing none of that down in New Zealand. So, yeah, again, the comparison is they both played overseas. That's where it ends.
Oh, man, you got to love it. You got to love it. All right, let's talk about the Orlando Magic, because are we going to put out an APB on Aaron Gordon or what?
Wow, shots fired.
Where's he at? That's all I'm asking. I'm concerned.
Shots
2020 is
fired.
a wild year. Where is Aaron Gordon? Where is he? We got, and Luka coming off a great sophomore performance in the bubble. I mean, you can't ask him for more at this point. I mean, it was Porzingis' full first season after the ACL injury. So,
Why?
I mean,
why are you talking about? No, we're talking about Orlando, the Magic.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Magic. Oh my God.
I'm like, why are you talking about Luka?
We were just reading. I was just reading something about Luka, and that's why. But anyway, where is Aaron Gordon? Like,
Orlando.
Back to that.
Yeah,
Like,
listen.
where's he at, Jarod?
Where's he at? We might have to start a free Aaron Gordon campaign. That might be where we're headed. Look, Steve Clifford's an excellent coach. I like him a lot. In terms of Orlando as a franchise, there's nothing I love about this franchise. Look, they got Cole Anthony, who I think is an interesting young player from Carolina. Again, we'll see how he develops. Something to pay attention to here. Mo Bamba still not cleared to start games with the team because he is still recovering from COVID-19. Now, he is working out and all that and says he feels fine, but something's going on where the medical staff has not given him the okay to be like, all right, you're back with the team and you're back playing. So
Right.
I don't know what's going on there. We also know that Jonathan Isaac's going to be out because he suffered that injury in the bubble. So, this is going to be a down year for Orlando. This is, I have them in they could fight for that 9-10. And that's kind of more out of respect because they made the playoffs the last couple of years. This team, they might be lottery bound if we're being honest, right? I can see I can see things going real bad for them. And then the other thing is Markelle Fultz, right, in his development. How does that continue to go? We'll see. But I don't love what Orlando's looking at right now, because again, Isaac being their best young prospects already hurt. Again, suffering that injury in the bubble at the end of last season. And yeah, I think it's going to be about time for Aaron Gordon to potentially look to go somewhere else. And
yeah,
I have, from sources that I've spoken to, let's just say, again, free Aaron Gordon. Talk to me. Ask me again at the trade deadline what's going on with Aaron Gordon, and then I'll just leave it there.
Oh, talk about a teaser if I've ever heard one. Dang. All right. Mic drop right there. Let's move on to a little bit of what's going down in DC with the Wizards. Okay, we had the crazy trade with swapping Westbrook for Wall, and now we have a new dynamic duo in Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Things seem to be going well in DC so far, but I mean, again, it is preseason. Russ is skipping around at practice. He's real happy. But again, when he ain't your friend on the court come regular season.
Well, Jenna, training camp and preseason and all this is like back to school, right? Everybody's friends, everything's all good. By mid-October, it's like, When it's like, clicks.
Why'd we lose 10 games in a row, guys? What the
Clicks,
hell's going
clicks,
on
clicks
here?
started forming back to school. It's like, all right, shit ain't so great no more, right? Like, but I will say this: having Westbrook on the team, the one thing we do know about Russ is a competitor and plays hard. I think it's going to help rejuvenate Bradley Beal. That's a deadly backcourt, Russ and Bradley Beal, and I like it. And we saw the reports about Russ already set the tone, right? Like, showing up to practice like a million hours early. He's going to do Russ type things, but not just the two of them. All right, you also have Davis Bertans, right? We know about him, excellent shooter. Love what they have going on there. Thomas Bryant, excellent player. I just think that there are enough pieces there with those two in the backcourt, with having someone like Thomas Bryant and Davis Bertans. Look, and Rui Hachimura is young. He's got to develop. It's only year 2, so it's going to take him some time to figure out what he's ultimately going to be. And let's not forget their draft pick from this year, Deni Avdija, who played over in Israel from Maccabi Tel Aviv. Mm-hmm. Who's someone who's ready, who I think can come over and start contributing right away. Look, they're going to be in that mix for sure, not just for playing. They might grab that 8 seed, right? And so look, they're not a contender, right? They're not winning, going to the conference finals or anything. But this is for sure, again, barring no injury or COVID outbreaks, I'd be shocked if this team doesn't make the playoffs.
I agree. I'm going to roll around the 8 or 9 seed for them. But I have to ask, because the big get about this trade is the backcourt that you have in Westbrook and Beal. Mm-hmm. So, again, we don't know much because this is a new pairing. Mm-hmm. Granted, if injury isn't in the mix, or COVID, or any type of other complications, where do you rate this backcourt?
I mean, if they're healthy, they need time to figure out how to gel and click. But God, I mean, they're up there. They're top 5 backcourt, right? Like, all things being equal. Look, and I said this before, I have a lot of critique of Russ's game, right? And I think it's fair criticism. He's still an All-NBA level player, right? As is Bradley Beal, a fringe All-NBA. So 2 All-NBA guys in your backcourt, pretty damn good, right? So again, give these guys time to coalesce and gel. It could be exciting things down in DC.
Very true, and congratulations to Bradley Beal, who just signed with the Jordan family.
He sure did. So, Jordan Brand, yep. Shouts to Bradley Beal. Deserves.
At least he didn't get them for that. Ooh. 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 My goodness, I'm sorry. Let me just come back down to earth. I got a little spicy right there. Woo. That's it. I don't care. I've said on this podcast before, Bradley Beal, I can count on 2 hands how many times that poor man has been snubbed, but he ain't sweating about it. Whatever, it is what it is. Anyway, let's move on to teams that we believe are going to be locks.
Yeah.
Now,
and so, I say locks, yeah. I was going to just elaborate for the Hebrew. So again, because of this play-in tournament, just a little refresher for all of you, it used to be the top 8 seeds, right, make the playoffs, and then you go from there. Now we're adding 9, 10 for a play-in tournament, which essentially means if you are 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th, you're going to be involved in that tournament to officially make the playoffs. So when we say locks, we mean people who we think are going to be 6th seed or better, so that we don't have to worry about play-in, whatever, any of that stuff. So these are the teams that we go, okay, they're certified. They're not going to have to worry about any kind of play-in. So take it away.
Exactly. Okay, let's kick things off here with the Indiana Pacers, because it feels like things have been quiet. Where are they headed? What direction are the Indiana Pacers headed in? I mean, do they have enough to even really... I don't know. Compared to the other teams that we're chatting about in this scenario here, the Sixers and the Raptors, I would say they rate below.
Yeah, they do. So Indiana's really they're like kind of on the border, right? They're in that like I might
Weird
be
gray
I
area.
might be a 7 seed slash right like or a 6 seed. They're kind of teetering. So much is going to depend on Victor Oladipo and that situation, right? What does he look like? Because first of all, is he healthy? Right, that's our first question. Is he fully healthy? Is he ready to roll?
Exactly.
Okay, and if he is, okay, cool. Number two, the continued development of Domantas Sabonis, who you know I love, and continue to integrate Malcolm Brogdon into the fold here. What does that look like? Is this good enough? We saw the revelation of T.J. Warren, who was excellent in the bubble for Indiana, and Miles Turner. Are all these guys going to be on this roster come trade deadline, right? We heard rumors, but then Oladipo came out and refuted them. He said, I never asked for a trade. I want to be here or whatever. Okay. Smoke, where there's smoke, maybe there's fire. Who knows? Is Oladipo long for Indiana? Is Miles Turner long for Indiana? With the emergence of TJ Warren in the bubble, can you push him back to a bench role now? I don't know, right? So these are all things we're going to be looking at, but I still think there's enough talent on this roster that they should be a playoff team. Now, keep in mind, Nate McMillan no longer coaching this roster, right? He was fired at the end of the season. So they have a whole new coaching staff. What is that going to look like, right? Like, we have to wait and see.
Exactly, because it's fear of the unknown that I have for the Pacers, because it can go really bad or it can go really good. Because, like you said, you have some key pieces in Sabonis, Turner, obviously Oladipo, but is he healthy? That's a big question mark, and that's really going to depend on a lot. I mean, that's a make it or break it for me. Not to mention TJ Warren. Do we even know if TJ Warren's consistent besides what we've seen?
That's true, right? Was it a bubble
recently?
mirage? Was that a bubble mirage, right?
Exactly.
No, yeah, true. We don't know.
Because then you have guys like Dame coming out saying that it was easier to play in the bubble because there weren't so many distractions and this and that. So
we'll see. We shall see.
Exactly. Let's move on to the Philadelphia 76ers. You guys know how I feel about this team. We've already talked about it. I mean, the entire starting five is over 6 foot, and they have a monster coaching staff. And we have Ben Simmons back from injury. We'll see how that goes. Is he shooting? We have Embiid. How has he been controlling his body and his game in the offseason? And obviously the new coach in Doc Rivers. He's excited. We're all excited. But what can the Sixers do to lock in a good seed that they didn't do last season?
So we all know the talent is there on this roster, right? That is very clear. Again, when you have Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, two all NBA offense and defense guys who are 26 and younger, Joel's 26, Ben's 24, I believe. I mean, again, Daryl Morey, new president of basketball operations, correct. Like, I got to see if this can work, right? Because those talent and caliber players do not grow on trees. You just don't find them that often because it's really hard to be that good. Yes, we know all the flaws or the big flaw in Ben's game, and I talk about it all the time. He is so elite and excellent at everything else, right? Like, and so we have to figure out a way. If I'm Philadelphia, no, we got to make this work, and that is what Daryl's doing. And if you look at the moves they made in the offseason, this roster fits together a bit better than what it was in the past, right? They were able to move off the Al Horford contract, right, which was a huge deal, right? They got rid of Josh Richardson and got Seth Curry, right? So they have more spacing and shooting on the floor, and they have Danny Green as well, which is necessary because Ben does not shoot up to now, right? And Joel is a low post player, right? So if you have guys like that, you need space around for the two of them to operate. And if you have guys who can knock down shots from three, that is a big deal. The other piece of it is Doc, right? Like, how does Doc's style and his persona and his attitude and charisma, how does that infuse that team? Because let's be real. Brett Brown's a nice man, but those players were sick of listening to him, and it was very evident and clear, right? That was clear. New voice, new direction, right? Doc has his preferred method of playing, which is a little more up-tempo, a little more spread pick and roll. We'll see how that looks in Philly. But without question, this team to me, again, barring injury, COVID breakout, this is a lock playoff team. You know, they're good enough. They should be a top 5 seed. Like they're that good. They should be a 5 seed, right? Like they're good enough. But again, it's going to be about Joel, as you mentioned. How much did you work on conditioning your body, my guy? And are you ready to be serious about this from a taking everything seriously standpoint? I love the troll part about Embiid, but my dude, like, do you want to be a dominant force in this league? And can Doc get Ben to do the things that he doesn't do, like shoot, but otherwise, you know, his game is excellent. And how do the rest of these pieces all mesh? And do they have another move to make? Right? Is there another move that can come? And I will also say this: Tobias Harris saw his greatest success when he was a Clipper under Coach Doc Rivers. Can Doc reignite Tobias Harris? Because if he's excellent, that's another huge get for them, because he is a ball handler, playmaker, 3-point shooter that could really help open up some things for the Sixers.
Great point there. And just to highlight again, the Sixers did super well in the offseason in getting offensive guys in Seth Curry and Danny Green, good shooters. I was looking at Curry's stats the other day, and he's shooting like, I think for the last season it was like 45% from three.
He is
49%
excellent
field goal percentage.
He's
like,
excellent.
Are you kidding me?
He's excellent.
Like, all right.
Seth Curry,
So,
and it's not on like one shot a game, right? It's like it's on high volume. So again, I like this roster better. I do also wonder what someone like Dwight Howard brings to the table, right? He's got championship experience now, being a member of the Lakers. What did he learn there? And the continued maturation of Matisse Thybulle, who I loved a lot as a rookie last year, already an excellent defender.
Yeah.
Has his offense improved in the offseason? Can he knock down shots? Can he, right? Because if he can knock down shots as well, he's already going to get on the floor because of his defense. Again, another shooter spreads the floor. So again, when you have those two guys to start in Embiid and Simmons, you're already in a good spot, right? And this, by the way, I think what we all realize is going to be, quote unquote, the make or break year, right? If Daryl and Doc see enough from the pairing of them together, they're going to be fine. If they don't like what they see, don't be surprised if one of them gets moved, at the end of the season, or if it's really disastrous by the trade deadline. But I don't foresee that happening. If anything, I see end of the year, but I like their chances with Doc and Daryl at the helm.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, this is going to be the make or break year for real, because we always say it, but for real now, like, this roster that you have is so good and there's so much talent that if this doesn't work, there needs to be a drastic measure made, unfortunately, or fortunately, who knows. But again, I think the shooting takes pressure off Ben Simmons, although I hope he's shooting as well. And then I think Dwight Howard is going to take pressure off Embiid, because we do know that, unfortunately, he has issues with consistency. So it is what it is. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about the Raptors, because everybody's been sleeping on the Raptors. Yeah, get your pillow, get your blanket. Yeah, don't be sleeping on no damn Raptors. All right, Kyle Lowry, put some respect on his freaking name. I mean, they lost Serge Ibaka. So
and Marc Gasol,
And Marc Gasol, didn't like that either. Maybe Aaron Baines can help get things back on track, but I don't know. I think they lost too many good pieces for how many good pieces other teams got. Yeah,
so I don't see Toronto being a top 2 seed or 3 seed like they've been the past few years. They're going to take a little bit of a step back just because, I think the surge piece is going to hurt them more than people realize. I think Ibaka's excellent. So that's going to hurt them. But what's going to help them is the cohesiveness. That unit's been together for a while now. So they know each other really well. And they know Nick Nurse, one of the best coaches in the league. But the big thing of what they've done, what Masai Ujiri's done in Toronto, is the roster is fortified so they can go after a big-name free agent in 2021. And there is a certain Giannis Antetokounmpo who will be a free agent potentially if he doesn't sign his max extension in the next couple of days here in 2021. The big thing for them is going to be Kyle Lowry, right? Because he is the heart and soul of that team, right? It's, again, and I hate these cliches, but what Kyle does doesn't show up in the stats, right? Like that's not how you judge what he does. It's just Kyle's presence, the way he draws charges, his attention to detail, the defense, all that. He does, of course, knock down shots. He's an all-star. We know all that. But there's so many intangible things that he does that lead to winning basketball games. And as long as Kyle's there and doing that at an elite level, they'll be fine. Pascal Siakam needs to continue his rise up as the guy on the team. And it's challenging. Last year started out okay, right? He was an all-star, played really well. Then as he started becoming more and more of the focal point of opposing defenses, he realized it was getting harder and harder to be the number one guy. When you're your team's number one option and the whole defense is geared to stop you, that's a whole different ball game than when you're number 2 or number 3 and you can play off other guys, right? And so does his shooting get more consistent, right? Because his shooting was inconsistent, particularly in the bubble last year. And in that Boston series, in the conference semis, I mean, Boston clamped him up pretty good, right? And Pascal did not look good. And he knew it and came out and admitted it and said, I did not play well, and I've got to be better and get better. And Pascal's the kind of guy who works, and so I believe he will. They re-signed Fred VanVleet, who is just a hell of a player. He's fantastic. Good for Fred.
You just gotta like Fred.
Oh, love Fred, and he bet on himself and got a hell of a deal. So kudos to him. And another big thing for them is going to be the improvement of OG Anunoby. Does he make another step up? He shot the lights out on corner threes this past season. Can that continue? And can he add to his offensive game? Look, the NBA, when you are a starter, and then you're moving to that next level of like fringe all-star, all-stars, the best guys in the league, why they're able to consistently be so excellent is every year they come back, they add a little something to their game, right? They add a little tool to the tool bag. And that's what you have to work on. Someone like OG Anunoby, what other little piece can you add to your game? Because you're already an excellent defender, right? Can you be a little bit better off ball in terms of your cutting and movement and things like that? And can you create a little, not a lot, but can you create a little bit off the bounce? If they're able to add those things, Toronto's going to be right there in the mix again. I think they'll be a lock playoff team, but they're not quite ready for that upper echelon of the conference.
Yeah, I agree. We also have Kyle Lowry turning 35 this season, so we'll keep an eye on good old Kyle up there in the six. We got to talk about more exciting things now. The teams that really, really are going to be major contenders to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And let's start with the Boston Celtics, because we have a good roster in the Boston Celtics, all right? You have Jason Tatum, who went on a tear last season.
Jaylen Brown.
You got Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown. Now, I'm a little nervous, though, because Kemba Walker, he's dealing with some injury right now. He's sidelined for the beginning of the season. So how much of a hit is that to Boston out the gate?
I mean, that's huge, and that's going to affect them offensively big time, right? Because let's not forget, not only did they lose, is Kemba Walker not going to be ready to start the season, they also lost Gordon Hayward in free agency, right? And that was a backup primary ball handler who could initiate and lead offense. Well, now...
and shoot the ball.
Right. With no Kemba Walker, you got Jeff Teague, who's fine, but he's not Kemba Walker. And you got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, sure. But, I mean, okay. Like, Kemba elevates them to a different level. Healthy Kemba, when they were healthy last year, people were talking about Boston going to the NBA Finals, right? That's what people were talking about. And so not having Kemba, and if he's dealing with this all season, they could slip from contender status to just, hey, they'll make the playoffs, of course, because Brad's excellent and the team's excellent, but they're not quite ready to contend for a conference finals and a potential NBA finals. And look, Boston's been to the last 3 out of the last 5 conference finals, I believe, Eastern Conference Finals. So, I mean, look, the infrastructure is there, right? Brad Stevens, head coach, Danny Ainge running things in the front office, and they have their bona fide young stars in Tatum and Brown. The question is, again, the ancillary pieces around them. But here's the thing. If Jason Tatum makes a marked improvement, like not even a huge improvement, if he makes a slight step up that could be enough to offset not having Kemba, right? Because Jason Tatum is that good, right? Like he really is that good. So if he's able to like make himself into a fringe MVP contender, then it's like, well, that's all they need. And again, and Jaylen Brown's also able to do a little bit more. I mean, look, these are Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, again, two young, awesome 20-something wings who can do a lot on the basketball floor. And again, if they make a slight little, that could be enough to offset Kemba. They still have Marcus Smart, which is good. The rest of their roster, however, for the championship run, if that's of course their goal in Boston, that's the part that gives me pause. But, if Kemba's healthy, this team has a shot at getting back to the conference finals and possibly the NBA finals. If he's not, they could lose in the second round.
Yeah, the absence of Kemba Walker scares me, but I am anticipating a stellar season out of Jason Tatum, partially because he should be fueled by the massive contract he just signed. So Boston better get ready because he's running it back for a few years now. So we need to see what's going on there. I really do pray that Kemba comes back soon and he's healthy, because he changes, in my opinion, even the attitude on the floor. He is such a happy guy.
And he changes the ceiling of that team, right? I mean, he changes the ceiling for sure. Those guys all love playing together. And again, what you have, that's another all-star, right? Okay, and someone who can take and make big shots, who can execute down the stretch, right? Because again, we always talk about it. Regular season basketball and playoff basketball, two different games, right? In the playoffs, the teams that generally win are the teams that have more guys who can create and make their own shot, right? Because when defenses bog you down and stop all your little fancy backdoor split action cuts and all that fun stuff you want to do, and I need a guy to just get me a bucket right now. The more of those guys you have, the better.
Yes. Amen. I think the future is bright in Boston. We shall see. Can't wait to see them. Fun team to watch. Let's move on to your team.
Wait, why are they my team per se?
Well, you cover that.
Oh, okay. I'm like...
Not fan-wise,
okay.
But that's the team that you're really in the know, in the locker room.
Yeah.
You're there. You got your ear down to the ground, as my old college professor used to say. He would love that I am mentioning this right now. Shout outs to Dr. Ganal. Anyway, let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets, because, where do we even begin? My guy Kyrie, he went on IG Live. He went on IG Live recently, and he was on there with Kevin Durant, and it was funny because Kevin Durant was busting him, and he basically explained to him on Instagram Live that he shouldn't post up 8 times a game as the point guard. Literally. I was rolling around on the floor dying, and Kyrie Irving's sitting there in Indian style. I'm assuming he was meditating before. I don't know, just a thought. But these two, they're thicker than thieves. They're close as ever, as whatever the kids say these days. But dang, Kyrie, he's a unique soul, man. He is.
Here's the one thing we know, Jenna.
Oh, and he got fined $25,000.
He did.
For not talking to the media.
He'll
talk on the IG Live.
Kyrie and the Nets both got fined. We talked about this a little bit last week, so I won't belabor this point. But Kyrie needs to figure out what he's doing vis-a-vis this media situation, because it's all cute and funny right now, right? But when we get in the thick of the season, if this is what you're still doing, and the Nets go through a poor streak, and players have to answer questions for your poor play, that ain't going to play over so well, right? So that aside, this team will certainly be interesting this year, Jenna. That's for damn sure. And we have them in the contender category, but they could easily slip out, right, just into playoffs. Because look, this all is going to hinge on what Kevin Durant looks like, right? The ceiling of this team is going to be governed by how good Kevin Durant is. If he is 80, 85, 90% of his old self, sky's the limit, right? This is a championship contending team. If he's a very diminished version of himself, no, they got no shot, right? So it's probably going to be somewhere in between, right? And it's going to also take some improvement and some good play from players like Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jarrett Allen, Joe Harris, etc. But Brooklyn's an interesting club. Offensively, my God, this team should be, again, assuming Durant is at a competent level and Kyrie is healthy, etc., with LeVert and Dinwiddie, this team should be excellent offensively. With Joe Harris out there spacing the floor, they should be among the top offenses in the league. And, that's really not where you're worried about this team. Where you're worried about this team is defensively, right? Like, who's guarding, right? Because you're going to have a diminished Kevin Durant somewhat. Kyrie Irving never played defense, so there's that. He doesn't. DeAndre Jordan.
Oh, thank God he's so good on the offensive end.
Thank God. DeAndre Jordan, not as mobile as he once was as a big man, right? And so, when he's got to sprint out and run out to the 3-point line, a lot of ground to cover, my guy. And so, there are still some things here that need to be looked at. But again, if guys like Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Joe Harris, and Timothy Luau-Cabarrot and players like that, if they're able to improve their games and play well off of KD and Kyrie, sky's the limit, right? I mean, you know what I always say. Healthy, Kevin Durant's the best basketball player in the world, in my opinion, right? So it's like, you got that, and you have Kyrie who can literally get to any spot on the floor and score from any angle. I mean, that kind of ability with shooting, good luck. Good luck defending that, right? But again, it's a lot. You got a first-year head coach in Steve Nash. He will have some help having Jacques Vaughn and Mike D'Antoni and Ime Udoka on the bench, but it's going to take some time for these guys all to gel. And, I've been on Zoom calls with these guys the past couple of weeks, and, it's like we said before. It's all the first day early in school vibes. Everybody's cool. We're so excited. Everyone's getting along. Shit's great. Like, yeah, all well and good now. As we talked about, when the stress of this season comes and we start playing these games and things are not going well, how is the team going to react and respond to that, right? That's going to be the telltale sign. They should be fine because there's enough veteran presence on this team. But are the personalities of KD and Kyrie, right, is that going to be problematic? I don't know. Time will tell.
I have to say, I'm very curious to see what goes on inside that locker room this season, between the personalities and just the different things that we're already seeing transcribe in the preseason. I'm very curious to see, and I'm sure everyone is, the return of Durant and Kyrie, because they're both coming off injury. Remember, Kyrie had surgery in March, so we shall see, but it looks good in Brooklyn. We shall see.
Optimism is there and potential's high, right? Like it could be good things. Good things could happen there. A lot has to go right, but good things can happen. But it's so many factors, and the players all talked about this. Like, it's gonna take time for them all to just figure each other out in an NBA game setting. They can play all the pickup they want. That's different than we're in an actual NBA game. And then again, when they get to the playoffs, the stress of the playoffs and how does the team react to the stress of the playoffs. There isn't built in, they don't have that foundation of cohesive institutional knowledge, right? We talked about it ad nauseum about the Clippers, right? A big part of why they fissured and fractured was because they didn't have that bond and that connectivity because they were all new getting together, right? Whereas Denver with Jokic and Murray, right? Those guys are 4 years in together. There's built-in, right, stuff to tap back into. The Nets won't have that, right? The Clippers will have it now after what they've gone through last year, right? These guys don't have the requisite bank of, oh no, remember, this happened to us before. We know how to get through this. They may have individual knowledge of how to do it because they've all been in those situations, but as a collective, they don't have it, right? And that's what you can't rush that. That's time. That happens with time.
Exactly. It can go really bad or really good, hence what happened to the Clippers. I mean, again, just because you have so many good pieces in one place doesn't mean it's going to work. It's not how it is. That's not how it works. Again, the first time this coaching staff is coming together, Steve Nash, first year coach. So, hey, a lot could fall on his shoulders too.
No doubt.
So
No doubt.
it's going to be interesting. There's so much newness in Brooklyn that we're going to be watching from all angles. So we shall see. Let's go to Milwaukee, where people are on pins and needles because they are doing everything and anything that they can to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo to re-sign and stick around. Now, the addition of Drew Holiday, of course, helps that as well. But they do have a ways to go. And you guys know Chris Middleton's on the team as well. And that is a great piece, too. Is it enough? Because Milwaukee is one of those teams that comes so close, and then it's just like, what do we need? And of course, there's continued development in Giannis, but it depends. I mean, there's a lot riding on him too, as well. Does he even want to stay? Does he want to go? It's obviously not a free agency trade destination, so
No, it's not. Look, here's what I'll say. I don't know that Giannis signs the Supermax extension before the deadline, right? He may just let it ride out into free agency. And if it's him, I mean, it behooves him to let it roll into free agency. Even if he does want to re-sign with them, it's not like they're going to offer him less money come the summer. They're going to offer him his full max, like he would have if he signs it now. The roster as it stands, I think, is slightly upgraded from last year. I think the Drew Holiday piece is going to be huge. Because if you just look at a Holiday for Bledsoe swap, Holiday is someone you trust far more, at least I do, than Eric Bledsoe in the playoffs, right? Okay. But you still have the same problems, which is, are the ancillary pieces enough, right? Like, is Nick Stauskas, Bobby Portis, right? Players like that, Pat Connaughton, Treveon Graham, like, are those players enough? I don't know, right? Is Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday as your three, your big three, so to speak, is that enough with what those players you have around you? They do have DJ Augustine, which I think is a nice little veteran pickup for them, a guy who knocks down shots. Like, George Hill was a great player for them, who they're going to miss. And I think that their goal was, okay, DJ Augustine will take up some of those George Hill. He'll be the George Hill replacement. You know, DJ doesn't shoot it as well from three, but will Bud make the necessary adjustments come postseason that he hasn't been willing to do in the past? Or I shouldn't say that. He has done them, but is he willing to even go further and continue to make more and more adjustments, as we see coaches like Nick Nurse does, right? Nick Nurse will scrap game plans entirely and go to something different, right? Because he doesn't care. He's like, I'm trying to win this game, whatever I got to do to win. Will Bud be willing to push more towards that level? Has Giannis's jumper become more consistent? Is Drew Holiday going to be able to be a consistent three-point shooter enough so that, again, teams can't sag off him, right? Like, and Middleton, will he be able to continue to maintain all-star level scoring and be consistent on both ends of the floor? Look, Milwaukee has been winning 60-something games the last few years. I see them on this similar trajectory. They're going to be an excellent regular season team, again, because Giannis is that good, right? I mean, he just is. The question, though, as I said before, comes postseason, when the basketball shifts. And when you play teams like Miami, who we'll talk about next, who is not afraid of Milwaukee, and a team like Philly, who has the bodies to bother Giannis, right? You take out Giannis, most teams are feeling pretty good about, all right, all I got to do is worry about Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Drew Holiday. Okay. Most teams feel good about that, right? They do. And so how can Milwaukee use Giannis differently in the postseason, right? How can other guys play better off of him? What kind of different lineups can Bud introduce to make them more effective come postseason? They're going to be fine in the regular season, and they're going to crush. Miami was a bad matchup for them last year, really bad. And honestly, had Philly not been a dumpster fire last year with how their whole implosion, I thought Philly was a bad matchup for them. Again, mainly because they've got big dudes that can throw at Giannis. So, again, and Philly's gotten better. So, I think, and you have Brooklyn to worry about now, and and Boston. And so, yes, Milwaukee will be an excellent regular season team come postseason, this is going to be where the rubber meets the road. And if they flame out again, like they've been doing, I don't expect Giannis to be there much longer.
Exactly. Again, no doubt in my mind that they're going to dominate the regular season. They have the past couple of years. That's a given. Postseason is going to be really when the shit's going to hit the fan, and we're going to see what they're made of. Again, in the East only got better throughout for the most part. I mean, the talent is spread so far. I can't even fathom the East at this point. And I remember starting our preview last year, I even trashed the East. I was like, wow, the East is garbage now, like blah, blah, blah. But no, the moves that have been made, it only puts the pressure on the Bucks even more.
Yep.
So how much pressure is truly on Bud, though?
A lot. Look, it's the whole organization. It's Bud as a coach. It's John Horst, the GM. It's everybody, because, again, Milwaukee is not a free agency destination. Players aren't lining up to come play in Milwaukee. And if they flame out and they lose Giannis, like that, I mean, the Milwaukee is the kind of organization where, like Oklahoma City, like Cleveland, like they have to draft well, develop, hope they have enough young pieces that they can trade to get established guys who are already under contract for 2 to 3 years. We know that the James Harden name got floated out there. Yeah, he's got 2 years left on his deal. Do they have enough pieces to move around to get someone like that? Would that help them? What have you? That's because, again, they're not going to just get some guy to come on a free agent whim. Milwaukee isn't the place. So this is a huge year that we all know for them.
Huge, major. We're going to be watching what's going on in Milwaukee because of that massive question mark around Giannis. But we have to wrap up the Eastern Conference with my new favorite team, as well as others who have signed the bandwagon papers.
# Heat Island.
The Miami Heat, okay? The Miami Heat, this is what's so fun about the Miami Heat and this upcoming season that we're currently starting, because it's only up from here. The experience and how far these young guys like Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson made it in the bubble under the leadership of Jimmy Butler. Again, you only go up from here. And you guys know they just paid Bam out the ass. Tyler Hero, they're not trading for him, or trading him away, I should say. And Duncan Robinson as well. And then Jimmy Butler. Geez, don't even get me started there at this point. So it only gets better. And let's also mention that they acquired Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless. That's great.
Yeah,
that's really great. Yes, you traded away Jay Crowder, but hey, it was worth it to me. I mean, where's the Miami Heat at now?
I like Miami as a team that could go back to the conference finals and could go back to the NBA finals. The one thing that not worries me about Miami, but gives me slight pause, they will have had an extremely short offseason. Right, they were in the NBA Finals. It's something
71 days.
I mean, that's not a lot of time to rest and recover. And those guys played heavy minutes, and they played hard. Jimmy Butler in particular. And I know Miami loves to talk about how well conditioned their players are, and they are. They're one of they take practicing and working out like very, very seriously in Miami. However, the human body can still only do so much. It isn't an unlimited resource and store of energy. When it's out and it's tapped, it's out and tapped. That's it. And when you're injured, period. So Miami worries me from that standpoint because Jimmy had to play so many heavy minutes.
And Bam was out.
And
at
Bam,
the end
right?
too.
And Bam and Jimmy, both were dealing with stuff, as was Goran Dragic, right? So that is the one thing that concerns me. Them as an organization and as a team and how they play, I'm not worried at all. I think Bam's gonna be a little bit better. The question you have to ask is, can Jimmy play any better than he played in the NBA bubble? I would probably guess no. I would say it's probably the ceiling on how excellent Jimmy Butler can play. Can he replicate it again for this coming season and the playoffs? We shall see. There was talk. We know that James Harden added the Miami Heat to his list of teams he'd like to go play for. And if you're the Heat, of course, all the immediate jokes. Oh my God, James Harden on South Beach, whatever, right? All that stuff, right? And he seems like the type of player who doesn't quite fit hashtag Heat culture, right? Like, that doesn't really seem like that's really his, right, in terms of how they want you to be from a body fat perspective and the workout and all that. But what we know about James Harden is one of the greatest offensive players we've ever seen in the history of the NBA. He's a multiple-time scoring champ. He's finished first or second in the MVP the last, cajillion years, right? Like, James Harden is that dude. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like, I know we got the funny memes about all the silly stuff he does, but let's not get it twisted. Like, this is a bad MFer when it comes to basketball. Like, this dude can ball. And if you're Miami, the question is, are you willing to give up someone like Tyler Hero? Because that's if I'm the Houston Rockets, that's for damn sure. You're giving me Tyler Hero and other stuff in order to get James Harden. And I love Hero and think he's great. But what Miami has to do, and what, it's easy for fans to be like, no, you don't get. Look, you have to balance the present and the future all at the same time. Tyler Hero was a 19, 20-year-old rookie who was lights out in the postseason, played really well in the finals. He's also 19 or 20 doing that in a bubble, right? Like, we'll see what it looks like this season, number one. Number two, I don't know what the ceiling is on Tyler Hero. I'm pretty confident in saying he's not going to be James Harden, right? Like, James Harden is an MVP and multiple MVP runner-up, okay? Like, again,
arguably could have won.
Arguably could have won 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
Is Tyler Hero, is it possible that he wins an MVP? Sure, because anything's possible. Is it likely? No. Right? Tyler Hero may be a few-time All-Star. He may be a perennial All-Star. I don't know. But we're talking about James Harden here. Like, this is a whole different stratosphere of player. And if you are the Miami Heat front office and you have a chance to get a player like that, because, again, all NBA guys are not available just hanging out on the trade market. That's not how this works.
Literally.
Teams don't trade players that good away. That's not what they do. So you have to consider it. And if it means Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn and a bunch of the young guys, yeah, to get that guy who's that good right now, because you know what James Harden is today, right? Yeah, Tyler Hero could be something better in the future. I don't know what that future could be. I know what I'm getting in James Harden right now. And so I'm not saying that Miami's going to do it or they should do it. All I'm saying is these are conversations they're having and they're thinking about, okay, what would we have to give up? And, just think about, imagine James Harden on the floor with Jimmy, Bam, and Duncan Robinson, right? I mean, look, that's incredible. I mean, you're talking about that's another person who then can alleviate and take some of the pressure off of Jimmy having to be offense creator guy late in the shot clock in the postseason, right? Harden can lift some of that burden, and he can cover for some of the lapses that James will have defensively, right? And so you have to look at this again. How does this all make sense? We know Miami just extended Bam, right? He signed his max extension, so he's going to be a Heat for a long time. We know Jimmy's there. Jimmy's there to stay. Look, I love Tyler, Duncan, your young guys. They just picked up Precious Achiuwa in the draft. Miami's positioning themselves to make themselves available for you-know-who in 2021 if, in fact, the aforementioned Giannis Antetokounmpo is, in fact, a free agent. But if that is not feasible for whatever reason, or let's say Giannis decides to sign the max extension, Supermax, the next couple of days, we know Harden wants to come. Okay, we can make some moves happen. I say all that to say, love what the Miami Heat are doing. Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, Andy Ellsberg and company. Listen, they know what's up. Barring, again, injury or them not responding well to the short off season, I like Miami to be right back in the conference finals again.
Right, same here. Again, I think if anything, they've only gotten better, and especially with that culture and the additions in Harkless and Bradley, you just can't go wrong. And again, we've already spent a lot of time talking about the culture on this podcast, but I just want to mention Hero did a recent piece with the Players Tribune, and he said that Jimmy Butler is the #1 hardest worker he has ever been around. That's it. And he was like, period. That's it. If you don't match that, then get the hell out of the way. And then Jimmy also recently said in a preseason interview that that's all he keeps drilling into their minds. Just you're confident, you're great, you're this, you're that. I mean, so just the development in that aspect alone is going to make the Miami Heat just so fun to watch.
No doubt. And, and Jimmy, I know this piece also made the rounds. He spoke to Rachel Nichols, ESPN's Rachel Nichols on The Jump, and, Rachel asked him about, how do you think the Heat are going to be this year, et cetera. And, Jimmy being Jimmy is like, I don't know, man. A lot of good guys come back in this league. Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. And I would take all those guys over me. And, Jimmy doesn't believe any word of that shit, right? That's just Jimmy being Jimmy. But his point is, I think he loves the Heat being forgotten about and the underdog role, because that is who Jimmy is, right? A slept on, like, man, you ain't going to be no good, whatever. Like, that fuels him. Like, he loves that, because his thing is, okay, I know I'm not as talented as those guys, but I'll tell you what, ain't none of them work harder than me. Right? Like, we may be even on work level, but you ain't going to work harder than me. That's for damn sure. And that is the spirit that he's infused in this entire Heat culture. And look, if anybody can overcome that short offseason, it's the Heat culture, because of how Jimmy Butler is and what the spirit he instills into that team. We'll see what they do from a roster, if they make any additional moves, or they just run it back with what they have.
Yeah, we'll see. Can't wait, though. Gotta love seeing Pat Riley, too, on the side at practice, just like this. Like that. I'm just like, this guy looks so scary. But he's not. He's a cool guy. All right. That is it for the Eastern Conference, guys. Thank you for sticking with us. It was a lot. It was a lot to cover, but it has to be done, and somebody's got to do it, and that's why we're here.
No doubt.
Y'all don't need to go doing your Google schmoogling and whatnot. Just come right to the episode. It's all here for you.
It's all here, guys. Thanks again. You know where to find us: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, at 7footerspod on Twitter, at 7footerspodcast on Instagram, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli. And we will be back for part 2, which is the Western Conference. Peace.
Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gonna do? Chevy told me come